My child, beloved, I see you there, sitting in the quiet of your own room, or maybe lying awake when the rest of the world has fallen into the rhythm of sleep, and your mind simply refuses to be silent. You do not realize how clearly I see you in these moments. You think your prayers are whispered into empty space, that your tears fall onto a floor that does not remember them, that your exhaustion is just another unnoticed detail in the chaos of your days. But I see every single one. I have watched you carry weights that were never meant for your shoulders, and I have seen you smile at people who have no idea what it cost you to stand upright. And now, tonight, in this moment when you have found yourself here, listening to these words, something in your chest is stirring. A restlessness you cannot name. A quiet ache that does not come from your body, but from somewhere deeper, somewhere closer to the place where your soul meets your secrets. You feel it, do you not? That strange, persistent sense that something is about to shift, that the ground beneath your feet, which has felt so hard and so unyielding for so long, has suddenly become softer, more unstable, as if a great underground river has begun to move. And that frightens you, because you have learned to build your life on solid things, on predictable things, on the small rhythms that help you survive one more day without falling apart. But I am telling you now, gently, the way a father wakes a child who is dreaming of a fire that does not exist. Do not be afraid of what is coming. Do not reject what I am sending you. You have done that before, have you not? I have seen it. I have watched you stand at the edge of an open door, your hand reaching out to touch the frame, and then pulling back because the room beyond looked too dark, too unfamiliar, too dangerous. I have watched you receive a gift you did not understand, and instead of holding it close, you set it down on a shelf and walked away, convinced that it was meant for someone else. I have watched you hear my voice calling your name, not in thunder or earthquake, but in the quiet stillness of an ordinary afternoon, and you told yourself it was just your imagination, just wishful thinking, just the desperate hope of a heart that has been disappointed too many times. You have learned to reject what you do not recognize, and I understand why. The world has taught you to be suspicious of anything that does not arrive with clear instructions and a money-back guarantee. Life has taught you that when something seems too good to be true, it usually is. And your own history has taught you that hope is a dangerous thing, that it opens the door to disappointment, that it is safer to stay small and quiet and invisible than to risk reaching for something that might not be real. But I am not the world. I am not life. I am not your history. I am the one who formed you in secret, who knitted you together in the darkness of the womb, who breathed into your nostrils the breath of life and watched your eyes open for the very first time. And I am telling you now, with all the love that has ever existed, with all the tenderness that has ever been poured out from the heart of creation, something is coming toward you, something you did not ask for, something you did not expect, something that will not arrive with trumpets and banners and a crowd of witnesses to validate its importance. It will come quietly, it will come strangely, it will come in a form that looks nothing like what you have been praying for, and that is exactly why you must not turn it away. Do you remember the story of the young Samuel, the boy who served in the temple, who slept in the presence of the ark, who lived so close to my dwelling place that he could hear my voice but did not yet know how to recognize it? 3 times I called his name in the darkness of the night, and 3 times he ran to the old priest Eli, convinced that the voice belonged to a man, that it could not possibly be the voice of God speaking directly to him. He rejected what I was sending because it did not fit his expectations. He believed that if God were to speak, it would happen in the daylight, with fire and smoke and trembling mountains, not in the still silence of a sleeping temple with a whispered word. But I often plant eternal things in the quietest soil. I often send my most important gifts wrapped in the most ordinary packages. And if Samuel had continued to run to Eli, if he had persisted in believing that my voice could only come through someone older, someone wiser, someone more qualified, he would have missed the entire purpose of his life. Do not let that be your story, beloved. Do not let your assumptions about how I work become walls that keep out what I am trying to give you. You have been praying for change. You have been crying out for breakthrough. You have spent nights on your knees or on your bed or staring at the ceiling, asking me to do something, anything, to move the stone that has been blocking your path. And now that stone is beginning to roll away, but the movement is so slow, so subtle, that you are wondering if anything is happening at all. You are looking for earthquakes, and I am sending a gentle tide. You are waiting for a shout, and I am whispering. You are searching for a sign so obvious that no one could possibly miss it, and I am placing a quiet invitation in the middle of your ordinary Tuesday. Do not reject it. Do not tell yourself that it is nothing, that you are imagining things, that if this were really from me, it would feel different, look different, arrive differently. I am the God of surprise. I am the God who chose a shepherd boy to defeat a giant, who chose a fugitive to lead a nation, who chose a teenage girl to carry the savior of the world into a stable full of animals. I have never done things the way the world expects, and I am not about to start with you. So listen to me carefully. Listen with the part of your spirit that still remembers how to trust, even after everything. Something has been placed in your hands. Not a burden, though it may feel heavy at first. Not a test, though it may challenge everything you thought you knew. But a key to a door you did not even know existed, a door that opens onto a landscape you have only glimpsed in your most secret dreams. You have been holding this key for longer than you realize, turning it over in your pocket, feeling its edges, wondering what it is for. And now the door is beginning to appear, not in a blaze of glory, not with an angel standing guard and a trumpet sounding from the heavens, but in the quiet accumulation of small moments, in the convergence of ordinary circumstances, in the way a phone call arrives at just the right time, or a memory rises from the depths just when you needed its wisdom. You did not notice the door being built. You were too busy looking for the grand entrance, the massive gates, the dramatic opening that would leave no room for doubt. But I have been building this door for years, plank by plank, nail by nail, using the very struggles you thought were setbacks, the very tears you thought were taking you further from your destiny. Every closed door from your past has been a piece of wood in this new door. Every disappointment has been a hinge. Every sleepless night has been a carving in the frame, a detail that will make sense only when you finally step through and see what has been waiting for you on the other side. And now the door is almost ready. It is standing before you, half hidden in the shadows of your ordinary life, and I am inviting you to walk through it. But you are hesitating. I feel your hesitation like a tremble in the hand that holds mine. You are afraid that if you step through that door, you will find yourself in a place even worse than the one you are leaving. You are afraid that the key you have been given is counterfeit, that the door is a trick, that I have somehow led you to the edge of something that will collapse beneath your weight. These fears are not from me. They are the echoes of every time you trusted and were betrayed, every time you hoped and were disappointed, every time you reached out your hand and found nothing there to hold. But I am not the ones who hurt you. I am not the father who left, the mother who criticized, the friend who betrayed, the love who walked away. I am the one who has been with you in every single one of those moments, who caught every tear, who held every wound in my hands, and began the work of healing before you even knew you were bleeding. And I am telling you now, with the authority of the one who spoke the stars into existence and knows every hair on your head, this door is safe. This door leads to a place of abundance. This door opens onto a path that I have already walked ahead of you, smoothing the stones, lighting the way, preparing a table for you in the presence of every enemy that has ever whispered that you are not enough. But you must walk through it. You must take the key that has been placed in your trembling hand and turn it in the lock. You must push against the weight of the wood and step into the darkness on the other side, trusting that the darkness is not empty, that I am already there, that the moment your foot crosses the threshold, the light will begin to rise. I know you are tired. I know you have been fighting for so long that you have forgotten what it feels like to rest. I know that every muscle in your body wants to stay where you are, to cling to the familiar pain rather than risk an unfamiliar healing. But staying is not safe, beloved. Staying is the real danger. Staying in the place that has been slowly draining your life, slowly stealing your joy, slowly convincing you that this is all there is, that you were never meant for more, that the door was never really meant for you. That is the lie that has kept you trapped. That is the whisper that has grown so loud in your ears that you have mistaken it for your own voice. You were meant for more. You were created for more. The very fact that you feel the hunger for something beyond your current circumstances is proof that the hunger is real, that it points to something that exists, that you would not crave the ocean if you had never known there was water. So stop telling yourself that your desires are selfish, that your dreams are foolish, that your hope is just a childish fantasy you should have outgrown by now. Those voices are not from me. I am the one who placed the dreams inside you. I am the one who whispered the visions into your sleeping heart. I am the one who has been preparing you through every triumph and every failure, through every mountaintop and every valley, for this exact moment. And now the moment has arrived. Do you feel it? That subtle shift in the atmosphere, that strange stillness that has settled over your spirit, that sense that something is different even though nothing has visibly changed. That is the turning of the tide. That is the movement of my hand beneath the surface of your life, rearranging things you cannot see, setting the stage for a restoration so complete that you will struggle to believe it is real. You have been asking me to fix the broken pieces of your life, to glue them back together, to make the cracks less noticeable. But I am not a repairman. Beloved, I am a creator. I do not fix old things, I make all things new. And that is what is happening now. I am not sending you a patch for your wounds. I am sending you a whole new skin. I am not sending you a temporary solution to your financial struggles. I am sending you a new relationship with provision itself. I am not sending you a bandage for your broken heart. I am sending you a love so deep, so wide, so high, that you will wonder how you ever believed you were alone. But you must receive it. You must open your hands and let go of the old thing you have been clutching so tightly, the familiar pain that has become a strange kind of comfort, the story you have been telling yourself about who you are and what you deserve. That story is ending now. The final pages are turning, the ink is drying, and a new chapter is beginning. But you cannot read the new chapter if you keep your eyes fixed on the old one. You cannot step into the new thing while holding on to the old thing with both hands. This is the moment of decision. This is the crossroads where the path divides, where one road leads back to the familiar prison and the other leads forward into an unknown freedom. I have placed the choice before you, not as a test of your worthiness, but as an act of love, because I will not force you through a door you are not ready to enter. Love does not coerce. Love invites. And I am inviting you now, with all the tenderness of a father calling his child home, with all the passion of a lover pursuing his beloved, with all the patience of a gardener waiting for the fruit to ripen. Come, step through the door, leave behind the voices that have told you that you are too broken, too late, too small, too unworthy. They are liars, every single one of them, and the truth is standing before you, holding the door open, waiting with impatience that has never once grown weary. Do you remember Joseph, my servant Joseph, the dreamer, the one who saw visions of greatness while his brothers plotted to kill him? He was 17 years old when I gave him a dream that seemed impossible, a dream that his own family mocked and rejected. And then came the pit. Then came the slave traders. Then came Potiphar's house and the false accusation and the dungeon. For 13 years, Joseph held on to that dream, while everything around him screamed that he had been deluded, that I had abandoned him, that the vision was nothing but the fantasy of a naive boy who did not know how cruel the world could be. 13 years, beloved. 13 years of waiting, of wondering, of weeping in the darkness while the promise seemed to grow more distant with every passing day. And then, in a single moment, everything changed. A dream given to a pagan king. A forgotten prisoner remembered, a pair of sandals removed from feet that had been chained, and Joseph was standing in the palace, second only to Pharaoh himself, clothed in garments of fine linen with a golden chain around his neck. The very brothers who had sold him into slavery were bowing before him, just as the dream had foretold. And Joseph looked at them, at the men who had meant to destroy him, and he said the most extraordinary words, "You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good." Do you understand what he was saying? He was saying that the pit, the slavery, the false accusation, the dungeon, the years of waiting in darkness that seemed like pure waste, had all been part of the preparation. He was saying that the very things that looked like rejection were actually positioning. He was saying that the door he walked through to the palace was built from the wood of his suffering, that every blow he had endured had been a hammer stroke, shaping him into the man who could save Egypt from famine and rescue his own family from destruction. You are in your Joseph season, beloved. You are in the darkness, in the waiting, in the place where everything looks like a closed door, and every hope seems to have been buried alive. But the dungeon is not your destination. The pit is not your permanent address. The darkness is only the soil where the seed of your destiny is germinating, sending roots down deep so that the fruit it bears will be strong enough to feed a multitude. Do not reject the darkness. Do not curse the closed doors. Do not despise the waiting that feels like wasting. All of it is preparing you for a weight of glory that you cannot yet comprehend. A fullness that will make every tear you have cried seem like nothing more than the rain that waters the harvest. I have watched you in the dungeon, my child. I have seen the moments when despair whispered that the dream was dead, that I had forgotten you, that your life had become nothing but a long story of disappointment. And I have been with you in every one of those moments, closer than your own breath, holding you together when you did not have the strength to hold yourself. The chains you are wearing are not permanent. The walls around you are not eternal. The door of your prison is already opening, and what you thought was a dungeon is about to become a launching pad. But you must not reject the key I am placing in your hand. The key looks strange, does it not? It does not look like the key you expected. You thought deliverance would come with thunder and lightning, with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm, with a dramatic intervention that would leave no room for doubt. But I am sending you a quiet promotion. I am opening a door that looks like a wall. I am answering your prayers in a form you almost do not recognize. And this is where so many of my children turn away. This is where they shake their heads and say, "This cannot be from God." If God were moving, it would feel different. It would look different. It would be more obviously holy, more clearly supernatural, more undeniably divine. But I am the God who hides in plain sight. I am the God who came as a baby born in a stable, who lived as a carpenter in a forgotten village, who rode into Jerusalem on a donkey while the crowd shouted, "Hosanna," and then scattered like chaff when the storm arrived. I am the God who conquered death through dying, who defeated darkness by entering into it, who transformed the world not with an army, but with a cross. Do not tell me what my presence should look like. Do not instruct me on how to answer your prayers. Do not limit the Holy One of Israel to the narrow box of your expectations. Open your eyes. Open your heart. Open your hands. What I am sending you may not look like a blessing, at least not at first. It may look like more work, more responsibility, more risk. It may look like a challenge that requires everything you have and more than you think you can give. It may look like a door that leads into a storm rather than away from one, and you will be tempted to reject it, to close the door and walk away, to convince yourself that you misheard, that you were wrong, that this cannot possibly be the path to the abundant life I have promised. But listen to me carefully, beloved. Listen with the ear of your spirit, not with the reasoning of your mind. The abundance I promised you is not the absence of storms. It is the presence of peace in the middle of them. The victory I promised you is not the removal of enemies. It is the table I prepare for you in their presence. The rest I promised you is not the end of work. It is the strength I give you to do the work I have called you to do. You have been looking for an easy life, and I have been offering you a meaningful one. You have been praying for a path without obstacles, and I have been preparing you to climb mountains. You have been asking me to remove the pressure, and I have been using the pressure to create something beautiful, something durable, something that will not shatter when the real tests come. Think of the olive. The olive does not release its oil until it is crushed. Think of the grape. The grape does not become wine until it is pressed. Think of the wheat. The wheat does not become bread until it is ground. And you, my beloved child, will not become who I created you to be until you have been through the crushing, the pressing, the grinding that transforms ordinary things into extraordinary gifts for a hungry world. Do not reject the pressure. Do not run from the process. Do not despise the very thing that is preparing you for a weight of glory beyond anything you can imagine. I am sending you something now, in this season, in this moment, that will require everything you have, and you will be tempted to say, "I cannot do this. I am not ready, I am not strong enough, I am not enough." And you will be right, you are not enough. But I am, and I have never asked you to do anything in your own strength. I have asked you to do everything in mine. The door I am opening is not an invitation to prove yourself. It is an invitation to lose yourself, to surrender yourself, to stop trying to be enough and start letting my enoughness flow through your surrendered hands. The key I am placing in your trembling fingers is not a test of your ability, it is a test of your willingness. Are you willing to look foolish? Are you willing to fail? Are you willing to step into something that might not work out the way you hope, that might require more of you than you think you have, that might lead you through valleys you never planned to enter? Because that is what faith is, beloved. Faith is not certainty. Faith is trust in the absence of certainty. Faith is the willingness to step onto the water when everything in your body screams that you are about to sink. And Peter did sink, did he not? He climbed out of the boat, he walked toward me on the surface of the storm-tossed sea, and then he looked at the wind, felt the waves, calculated the impossibility of his position, and began to go down. But here is what you must remember about that story. Here is what so many miss when they read it with fearful hearts. Peter was the only one who got out of the boat. The others stayed in the safety of the vessel, convinced that their faith was more reasonable, more prudent, more wise. They did not sink because they never risked. They never failed because they never tried. They never experienced the terror of walking on water, and they never experienced the miracle of my hand reaching through the storm to catch them. Do not let your fear of sinking keep you in the boat. Do not let your terror of failure keep you from the adventure of faith. I am not impressed by your ability to stay safe. I am moved by your willingness to risk. And when you sink, and you will sink, because every person who has ever dared to walk on water has eventually looked at the waves, I will be there. My hand will be there, reaching through the chaos, pulling you up, setting your feet back on the surface of the impossibility, and whispering the same words I whispered to Peter. Why did you doubt? Not in accusation, not in anger, but in the tender question of a father who has already caught his child, who has already prevented the fall, who was never going to let you drown in the first place. So step through the door, beloved. Step through with all your trembling, all your uncertainty, all your not enoughness. Step through because I am on the other side, waiting for you, not with a checklist of requirements you fail to meet, but with open arms and a feast prepared and the laughter of one who has been watching for your arrival since before the foundation of the world. You do not need to have everything figured out. You do not need to have a 10-year plan with quarterly reviews and contingency strategies. You do not need to know exactly what you are going to do when you get to the other side of the door. You just need to walk through one step, one moment of courage, one decision to trust the voice that has been calling your name in the darkness. And then another step, and another. And before you know it, you will be standing in a place you never could have reached by staying safe, a place where the air smells different, where the light falls differently, where you can feel the pulse of a life you did not know was waiting for you. I have already gone before you. I have already prepared the way. Every stone that could make you stumble, I have either removed or transformed into a stepping stone. Every enemy that could block your path, I have either defeated or destined to become a servant of your purpose. Every fear that could paralyze you, I have either silenced or turned into a teacher that will make you wiser than you have ever been. There is nothing on the other side of that door that can destroy you. There is nothing waiting in the darkness that is more powerful than the light I have placed within you. There is no challenge that I have not already equipped you to face, no battle that I have not already won, no mountain that I have not already leveled or given you the strength to climb. So do not reject what I am sending you. Do not turn away from the very thing you have been praying for just because it does not look the way you expected. Do not close the door that I have opened just because your hands are shaking and your heart is pounding and every voice in your head is screaming that this is a mistake. The voices in your head are not my voice. The fear that grips your chest is not my spirit. The doubt that whispers you are not ready is not the truth. I have given you a spirit of power and of love and of a sound mind. I have not given you a spirit of fear. So take a deep breath, beloved. Feel the weight of the key in your hand. Look at the door that has been appearing in the middle of your ordinary life, the door that seemed to come from nowhere, the door that was built from the wood of your waiting. And then, with all the courage you can gather, with all the faith you can borrow from the story of every saint who has gone before you, with all the trust you can place in the one who has never once failed you, even when it felt like he had. Walk through, I am with you, I am in you, I am for you. And nothing, absolutely nothing in all of creation can separate you from the love that is calling you forward into the life you were always meant to live. Do you remember Elijah, the prophet who called down fire from heaven, who slaughtered the prophets of Baal, who outran the chariots of Ahab in the supernatural strength of my spirit? That same Elijah, just days after the greatest victory of his life, was hiding in a cave, trembling with fear, begging me to let him die. One threat from a queen, one whisper of danger, and the mighty prophet collapsed into despair, convinced that he was the only one left, that the battle was lost, that his life had been a failure. And how did I respond to his fear? Did I shame him? Did I rebuke him? Did I tell him to pull himself together and remember who he was? No. I sent an angel with a cake baked on hot stones and a jar of water. I let him sleep. I fed him. I let him sleep again. And then, when he had been restored by the simple kindness of rest and nourishment, I spoke to him. Not in the wind that tore the mountains apart, not in the earthquake that shook the ground, not in the fire that consumed everything in its path, but in a still, small voice, a gentle whisper, the sound of sheer silence. And in that whisper, I gave him his next assignment, his next door, his next step. Not a dramatic confrontation with Jezebel, not a return to the battlefield in a blaze of glory, but a quiet journey to anoint new kings and a new prophet, a transfer of authority that would continue my work long after Elijah had passed from the scene. You have been expecting fire, beloved. You have been waiting for the wind, the earthquake, the dramatic manifestation that would leave no room for doubt. But I am speaking to you in the stillness. I am leading you through the ordinary. I am opening doors that look like nothing more than the next small step in the middle of your everyday life. Do not miss me in the mundane. Do not reject the quiet invitation because you are looking for a shout. The shout is coming, yes. There will be moments of thunder, seasons of fire, times when the supernatural breaks into your natural world with unmistakable clarity. But those moments are rare. The bulk of your life, the slow and steady transformation of your character, the patient building of your destiny, happens in the quiet, in the ordinary, in the small decisions you make when no one is watching. I am sending you something in the ordinary. I am speaking to you through the everyday. I am opening a door that looks like a conversation, a phone call, a chance encounter, a book that falls into your hands, a thought that rises unbidden from the depths of your spirit. Do not reject these small messengers. Do not dismiss the still, small voice because it does not come with a trumpet blast. The kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed, the smallest of all seeds, but when it grows, it becomes a tree so large that the birds of the air nest in its branches. Do not despise the day of small things. Do not reject the seed because it looks like nothing compared to the tree you are hoping for. Receive the seed. Plant it in the soil of your surrendered heart. Water it with your tears of hope and your sweat of obedience. And watch what I will grow from the small thing you did not reject. You have been carrying something, beloved, something heavy, something you were never meant to carry, the weight of your own future, the burden of making everything happen. The exhausting, impossible task of forcing doors to open, of manipulating circumstances, of trying to be both the architect and the builder of your own life. And you are tired, so tired, not just in your body, though your body bears the marks of your exhaustion, but in your soul, in the deepest part of you, the part that was designed to rest in me, to trust in me, to receive from me without striving and straining and exhausting yourself on the treadmill of self-salvation. I am sending you rest, not the rest of escape, not the rest of numbness, not the rest of giving up, but the rest of surrender, the rest of trust, the rest that comes when you finally stop trying to carry what only I can carry, when you place your future in hands that have never dropped a single one of my children, when you lay down the burden of being God of your own life, and let me be God instead. This rest is a door, and you must walk through it, not with the effort of trying to rest, which is the most exhausting thing of all, but with the simple decision to stop striving, to stop scheming, to stop trying to make things happen in your own strength and your own timing. I am sending you a season of ease, not ease in the sense of no challenges, no growth, no stretching, but ease in the sense of flow, of alignment, of the deep peace that comes from rowing with the current instead of against it. You have been fighting the current for so long that you have forgotten there is another way to live. You have been swimming upstream, convinced that struggle is the only path to success, that suffering is the only route to significance, that the approval of God must be earned through the sweat of your brow and the exhaustion of your soul. But I am the God of rivers that flow downhill. I am the God of seeds that grow while the farmer sleeps. I am the God of harvests that come not through frantic effort, but through patient trust in the slow miracle of soil and rain and sun. Stop fighting. Stop striving. Stop trying to make happen what only I can bring to pass. Open your hands. Receive what I am sending you, and rest. Beloved, rest. Do you remember the woman with the issue of blood? The one who had suffered for 12 years, who had spent everything she had on physicians who only made her worse, who had been declared unclean, untouchable, excluded from the community of worship and the embrace of her own people. She had tried everything. Every door she could find, she had knocked on, every solution she could imagine, she had attempted, and nothing had worked. She was at the end of her resources, at the bottom of her hope, at the edge of her ability to believe that anything would ever change. And then she heard that I was passing through her town. Not a scheduled appointment, not a personal invitation, but a rumor, a whisper, a chance that she might press through the crowd and touch the hem of my garment. She had no guarantee that anything would happen. She had no prior experience of miracles to build her faith on. She had nothing but the desperate, trembling hope that if she could just get close enough, just reach out her hand, just brush the edge of my clothing, something might shift. And she pushed through the crowd, through the people who jostled her, who probably pushed her back, who had no idea that the unclean woman was pressing against them in her desperate quest for healing, through the voices that told her to stay in her place, to accept her condition, to stop hoping for what would never come, through her own exhaustion, her own fear, her own certainty that this was probably pointless, but she had to try anyway, because trying was all she had left. And she touched me. Just the hem of my garment, just the faintest contact with the edge of who I am, and instantly power flowed from me into her. 12 years of bleeding stopped in a single moment. 12 years of suffering collapsed under the weight of a single touch, and I felt it. I felt the power leave me, and I stopped in the middle of the crowded street, surrounded by pressing bodies and urgent voices, and I asked, "Who touched me?" The disciples thought it was a ridiculous question. Everyone was touching you, Lord. The crowd was pressing in on every side. But I knew that there was a difference between the casual contact of the curious crowd and the desperate touch of a woman who had nothing left but her faith. And when she confessed, trembling and afraid, I did not rebuke her. I did not shame her for her audacity. I called her daughter. I told her that her faith had made her well. I sent her away in peace, healed and whole and restored to a community that had cast her out. Do you understand what I am saying to you through this story, beloved? You have been trying to earn my attention through your performance, your perfection, your ability to get everything right. You have been trying to impress me with your prayers, your fasting, your spiritual disciplines, your tireless efforts to be worthy of my love, but you are missing the point entirely. You do not need to be impressive. You just need to be desperate. You do not need to have perfect faith. You just need to reach out your trembling hand. You do not need to fight your way to the front of the crowd. You just need to touch the hem of who I am. And you can do that right now, in this moment, in the middle of your doubt and your fear and your certainty that you have failed too many times to be welcomed into my presence. Reach out, touch, believe that I am who I say I am, that I can do what I say I can do, that I am not angry with you, that I am not disappointed in you, that I am not keeping score of your failures and holding them against you. I am the God who heals. I am the God who restores. I am the God who makes all things new. And I am sending you healing now. Not the healing of your body only, though that may come, but the healing of your heart, the healing of your mind, the healing of the deep wounds that have been bleeding for so long you have forgotten what it feels like to be whole. Do not reject the healing because it comes in a form you do not recognize. Do not push away the hand that reaches for your wounds because you are afraid it will hurt. The healing may feel like grief before it feels like relief. It may feel like loss before it feels like freedom. It may require you to let go of the pain that has become your identity, the story of your suffering that has become the only story you know how to tell. But on the other side of the letting go is a life you cannot yet imagine, a freedom you cannot yet comprehend, a joy that is not the absence of sorrow, but the presence of something deeper than sorrow, something stronger than grief, something eternal that cannot be touched by the temporary storms of this world. I am sending you a new identity, not the identity you have constructed from your successes and failures, your achievements, and your regrets, but the identity I spoke over you before the foundation of the world, the name I whispered into the darkness when I dreamed of the person you would become, the truth of who you are that has nothing to do with what you have done and everything to do with whose you are. You are my child, my beloved child, the one in whom I delight, not because you have earned my delight, but because delight is what I feel when I look at you, because you are the work of my hands, the song of my heart, the masterpiece that I have been creating since before time began. And I am not finished with you yet. The door I am opening is not the end of the journey. It is the beginning. It is the first step into a story so vast, so beautiful, so full of adventure and meaning and love, that you will spend the rest of eternity exploring its depths and still not reach the end. So do not reject what I am sending you. Do not close the door because you are afraid. Do not turn away from the key because it does not fit your expectations. Take a breath. Feel the weight of the moment. Let the trembling in your hands become the trembling of anticipation rather than fear. And then walk through the door. I am waiting for you on the other side. Not with a list of everything you did wrong, not with a scorecard of your failures, but with open arms and a feast prepared, and the joy of the father who has been watching for his child to come home. Welcome, beloved. Welcome to the life you are always meant to live. Welcome to the adventure I have been preparing for you since before the stars learned to shine. Welcome to the door. Now walk through, and never look back.